Yeah, I don't know how that got switched up, but hey, it's me, Denzel, and this is Cubfidential. This is the MLB playoff edition, as we've done for the past couple of years, because we're pretty much the only baseball on the network thus far. We It wouldn't be right unless we gave you the playoffs, whether the Cubs were in it or not. So we're gonna bring in the host and then our guy Jason, and we're going to get things started for this 2024 MLB Wild Card Round edition.
What's going
JB,
on?
Jason.
Denzel, Jay.
What's up, man?
Exciting 2 days so far. Let's start with obvious. Let's talk Cubs first because great year, winning season, but they didn't get there. They fell a couple of games short. You look back at the team, over 25 blown saves throughout the year. If they had half of them, they would be the division winner with 94 wins. Um, how do we feel about the season as a whole? Denzel, I'll start with you.
Um, I think we left a lot. I think they left a lot of money on the table. You know, um, it was trippy in the second half of the season because you beat the contenders. You win the season against the contenders, but then the teams you're supposed to beat, you trip up on. I get it. Sports can be unpredictable, but this is what I mean by leaving money on the table. The Cubs finished with the exact same number of wins they did last season. So they're back-to-back winning seasons, but no postseason. They were in the running, toward the end, but then they fell short. At one point, the Brewers were running away with the division. They had like a 9-10 game lead. So, all right, I get it. We ain't going to catch them. But we could have at least gotten a wild card out of it. But Council's first season with the team, he sees what he has. The bullpen definitely was the downfall of the year and something, and the first thing that has to be addressed. I think the brightest spot of the team this season has been Shota Imanaga. So, a lot of great seasons to come. I'm sure he's going to earn his money down the line, earn his big contract. But yeah, that was been a couple of bright spots, enough to get to 83 wins. But Shota, as Nick will call him, Showtime, not Showtime, that other Japanese player out there in LA. But but yeah, Shota Imanaga actually could shape up to be one of the best pitchers in the league, in the majors, and I see a future Cy Young award winner.
Jay, what was your thoughts on the year?
Yeah, I definitely think Shoto was the MVP of the Cubs this year, man. He just showed out. He pitched really well, and every game that he was in, they won it. So. But I do believe they've got a good core of young players. PCA is definitely the center fielder of the future. Michael Bush, first baseman of the future. So yeah.
So real quick before we go on to the playoffs, Juan Soto scheduled to be a free agent this year. Obviously, you have to address the bullpen. We don't even have to talk about that. The offense at times this year was stagnant. If you were to get Juan Soto, think of that outfield with PCA, Ian Happ, um, Bellinger, and
If he comes back.
yeah, I mean it's
Oh yeah,
you know, and the Japanese due to a blanket on the name, which is horrible.
Suzuki.
Suzuki, there you go. Say
Yep.
so that you'd have
yeah.
you'd have an overcrowded outfield, and you can play Belly at DH or first base.
Right.
And obviously we know you have to address the bullpen, but do you make a move like that? Do you have the money? We know the Cubs are one of the few teams in baseball that have that kind of money. Do you make that move? I'll start with you, Jason.
I honestly don't think they'll pull the trigger on it. To be honest with you, the way that Jed's been talking lately, I just don't think he's a president that's going to spend a lot of money on one player. And that's just my opinion. I mean, they were talking about trying to get Shohei, and they were in the running for him, and it just didn't pan out. So, I would be really shocked if they signed Soto.
What about you, Denzel?
Oh, The question is, how much money is he going to ask for?
Yeah.
It's worth a shot. I mean, they couldn't land Shohei Ohtani, but Juan Soto may be a nice consolation prize a year after the fact.
I mean,
But I mean,
obviously, you're looking at 500 million, and the Cubs have it. If there's any team in baseball, there's the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Cubs, the Dodgers, and other teams may spend that kind of money, but those they're not the teams that right away come to mind. The Mets are another one. There's maybe like 6 or 7 teams that have that type of money that can do that, and the Cubs are definitely one of them. And he's going to be the premier free agent once the offseason starts. The outfield is pretty loaded, but that would legitimize that whole lineup and that outfield for years to come because he's still young.
Now, I know they were over the luxury tax this year, correct?
That's a great question.
So does that, I'm not too familiar with the luxury tax, so does that roll over to next year, or is it just a yearly thing?
So every
Either
year,
one of you guys know?
So with the way the luxury tax works is you get a penalty for each year you're over, and the penalty goes up the next year if you go over multiple years in a row.
Yeah.
But when you have the money, it's not a big deal. The Cubs make the money. Wrigley Field is sold out day after day. They do great merchandise sales. They have their own TV network. So money is not the issue. I'm not saying that they need to spend it there, but it's an idea to make the offense a little bit more scary, because that would definitely change that lineup. It would make Bellinger a better hitter because you'd have someone to protect him. I'm not comparing Bellinger to Judge, but look at how much better Judge hit having Soto there. It's just a nice luxury to have. And that's not to say he's going to leave the Yankees, but he is a free agent, and if you can get him in your outfield, I think it's worth the money. But before we get into the games, let's talk about how the playoffs came about. So there were 3 teams in the wild card chase of the National League: the Arizona Diamondbacks, the Mets, and the Braves. Last week, there was some bad weather, a hurricane that went through the Southeast, and the Mets and Braves both had off Monday. They played a game on Tuesday. Wednesday and Thursday got rained out in advance. They made that decision. MLB made the decision Wednesday afternoon around 4 o'clock Central Time. So the Mets actually called the commissioner prior to going to Atlanta to try and get them to play a game Monday and a doubleheader on Tuesday so that they didn't have to go there at the end of the season if it was necessary on Monday this week. The commissioner didn't do anything to let everybody sit, as well as the Braves didn't want to play Monday and Tuesday. They doubleheaders or get those games, and they wanted to let it play out. So first thing, looking at how the wild card shook out, the Mets went to Milwaukee, won 1 out of 3. They ended up with a tie with the Braves and the Diamondbacks pretty much. They had to go back to Atlanta and play a doubleheader this Monday. And the Mets won a really game 1, with a Lindor home run in the top of the 9th after they scored 6 runs in the 8th.
Right.
And took the lead before the Braves came back and took the lead over them in a seesaw game. And then the Mets, went ahead and lost game 2, which meant the Diamondbacks were out. Now, from what I know of my many years of watching baseball, most doubleheaders are split. I would say 70% end up being split doubleheaders. Yeah. One team wins one game, the other team wins the other. So, in my opinion, that set up the Diamondbacks for basically just being eliminated for no reason when they could have played the games the week before. And on top of that, it put the Mets and the Braves at a big disadvantage because now the Braves had to fly across country to play San Diego, and the Mets had to go back to Milwaukee, which isn't that bad of a flight. They didn't get as hurt as the Braves did, by having to go to San Diego. But what's your guys' thoughts on how MLB handled that? We'll start with you, Denzel.
It's I know it sounds a little unfair, but it is what it is. One end of the spectrum could also say these players are getting paid millions of dollars, and then not only that, but as we'll talk about here in just a second, the Mets won their game the next day. So it isn't it isn't to say like, oh well, a team can't, do this on a fast turnaround. I mean, shoot, the Astros' final game of the season got rained out, and who was it? Jose Romero on the Guardians. He had a chance to go 40-40. Now, yeah, that sounds like a scheduling thing. Now, could it have happened sooner? Of course, it could have happened sooner. I don't know what was going on in their planning process or anything like that. Um, but my point is this: it's not to say that it's impossible for a team to win on a quick turnaround like that, because obviously we just saw it. But could the scheduling have been better? Yes, I could agree with that.
Jason?
Yeah, I'd have to agree with Denzel. But also too, I have to say, like he said, the players are getting paid millions and millions of dollars, and also too, man, play better during the season. You won't have to worry about being in the wild card race.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, both of you, but this is Major League Baseball. You have to, what's happening in advance. This isn't a regular rainstorm. This is a hurricane, and you got to get these teams where they got to go. I thought it was a horrible job, and I didn't think they handled it well. But let's get to the wild card round now. So let's start with the Astros losing both games, and they're out already before we even did our show. Are the Tigers this year Cinderella team? Let's start with you, Jason.
Yeah, they got a young core, man, and they got AJ Hinch at the helm. So he went into Houston, took 2 games, and bounced them out real quick. So I like Cleveland a little bit better than Detroit. I think Cleveland will take that series. So,
what about you, Denzel?
It's disappointing to see my team out, but I wouldn't have any other person knock us out than our old manager, AJ Hinch. The Detroit Tigers are the hottest team in the postseason right now. They were the hottest team to close the season. They went on a 31-13 run. We never overlooked them. And then you figured that they took advantage. The Astros were a bit injury riddled. We barely got Yordan Alvarez back in time for the postseason. Then there's a whole deal behind is Bregman even going to come back? It's widely said that he's played his last game in Houston, but I know the show must go on. But the Tigers, no, they definitely did it, and it was 2 close games too. You figure game 1, it was bottom of the 9th, bases loaded, 3-1 game, and then ground out. So that ended a late Astros comeback. Then the Astros took the lead late 2-1, and then here comes the Tigers on in a 4-run inning. But the Tigers, they don't know when to quit. And with all this talk about, JB, your Yankees and, the Dodgers and everything like that, and even the Phillies, the Tigers are saying, hey, we hadn't won a postseason series since 2013. We hadn't been to the playoffs. And I'm just saying, we're right here and we're not going away. So hats off to those guys.
So, I mean, obviously school ball was amazing yesterday. Detroit really did a great job holding the Astros in check offensively. Denzel, I mean, it was a rough year for Houston. You guys fought all the way back to win the division. When everyone said, "Oh, they're done," except for John Shear, he had faith that you guys were going to win the division.
Yeah.
I mean, are you disappointed with the way the season ended, or are you okay with the heart that they showed to just get where they were?
I'm okay with the heart. It's our lowest win total I think since 2016. We won 88 games. But to have been down like that and come all the way back, to win the division has been nothing short of amazing, in my opinion. In the injury battle year also, we were without Kyle Tucker for a great amount of time also. But the starting rotation, let's see, Romel Blanco, Fremner Valdez. I know Verlander's kind of on his last legs. It's widely said that he's probably pitched his last game in Houston. But to overcome that, and you heard some rumble saying, is this the end of the Astros run? I will say this much, okay? As long as the Houston Astros win the NL West and are in the postseason, they got a chance. So I'm not going to say that it's the end of the run. When the Astros don't make the playoffs, that's when people can start talking.
All right. Well, that was that series. Let's go down to Baltimore. Baltimore loses 2-1 today and 1-0 yesterday. Kansas City wins the series 2-0. Will royalty return to Kansas City? So, I mean, first of all, John Shear, probably the biggest diehard Oreo fan I've ever seen in my life.
Same.
I asked him today, what is wrong with his team? This is 2 straight postseasons that they didn't win a game, and they have enough talent to win the World Series. So I don't understand it. And 1 run in 2 games. Jason, what did you see in this series from the Royals that made them so dominant?
Bobby Witt Jr. he's just an amazing player, man. He just does it all for the Kansas City team, man. And I watched a little bit of the game today, and they kept it. It was another close game, but Kansas City came out winning 2-1. So, that's another young and upcoming team, I believe. And Bobby Witt Jr. is leading the charge on that team.
Yeah, I mean, I love Bobby Witt Jr. I was able to interview him before he got to the show after he got drafted. Great kid, had his head grounded, and you could see that he was going to be good. Did anyone think he'd be this good? Well, the Royals did, but I didn't know, and I'm impressed. Bless you, Denzel.
Thank you.
Bless you.
So, what did you see in that series, Denzel? What shocked you with the O's Royals?
The O's should have at least taken the game, but I'm not surprised at the Royals. I told everybody earlier this season the Royals was going to be good. I said they were going to be a good team this year. I knew it when they swept us, when we were in Kansas City. Wasn't just saying that because it was my team. I was like, no, the Royals are going to be good this year. I wouldn't be surprised they made the postseason. They weren't going to do enough to win the Central. That was, it was back and forth between Minnesota and Cleveland. And then Cleveland just kind of, ran away with it. So it turned into Cleveland's division to lose. But Kansas City, it doesn't shock me that they've made it this far. And now here they are. They've won it. And now they're going to they're going to Cleveland, right?
No, the Royals are going to New York.
Yep. Oh, they're coming to see you guys. Okay then. Yeah. Don't overlook them. That's all I'm going to say. Don't overlook them.
Personally, I'm glad we're playing the Royals, because I don't want to face Detroit. I'm not saying we should overlook any of these teams because they're all good. But if I had to choose right now, the Royals would be the team I'd rather play.
Okay.
Detroit's going to be a tough out. They are a good young team. They remind me of how they're built. They remind me of the 90s Yankees. Not that they're as good or that they ever will be as good. I can't tell you right now, but that young core that they put together, very similar, and I see the progression from last year to this year to what they've done. So it's definitely impressive. The Royals, on the other hand, they're just playing good baseball. Nothing bad to say about them. Let's go to the NL. So after the doubleheader on Monday, Arizona was eliminated. The Mets had to go back to Milwaukee. They probably could have, not even checked out of the hotel because they were back there, 24 hours later by the time they got there Monday night. And they go play game one of the series, and they do what the Mets do. They won 8-4 in game one. They were 1-5 against the Brewers all year. The only game that they won, Sunday, the last Sunday of the season. And of course, they followed it up by winning the first game of the wild card. Denzel, what do you see with this Mets team?
This is the team in the National League to look out for. Of all the talk of the Phillies and the Dodgers, and I know the Padres are doing their thing. They're back in the postseason, 2 out of 3 years. The Mets is the team to look out for. They come through in the clutch with big hits. They're sending moonshots over the wall. Just when you think you have them down, late in the game, here they come. They blast another. In that doubleheader, what was it? The Braves scored the Braves scored something like 6 runs to come back.
No, so the Mets score. The Braves were up 3-0.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mets scored 6. Mm-hmm. Braves scored 4, and then Lindor hit the home run.
Lindor's 2-run. Yeah. Just when you think you have them down late. Thank you. I knew it was.
It was a wildest game. You know what that game reminded me of? The 1995 wild card game when Leyritz hit that home run against Seattle. Back and forth. I mean, obviously it was very different, but where both teams were playing hard and you didn't know who was going to end up winning. And, a home run at the end changed it, which was very impressive. I'm very impressed by the Mets.
Yep.
What do you think, Jay, so far?
Yeah, especially to come into Milwaukee and beat them, a home team. And I think, what did they score? They scored 3 in the second and 5 in the fifth.
Yep.
So they
Yeah.
definitely can score some runs, man.
And they're up 3-1 in game 2 right now in the top of the third. Just to let everybody know, they scored 1 in the top of the first, gave 1 back up,
Yeah.
and they scored 2 more in the top of the second. So they're up 3-1 game 2. Mets win, they're done. They move on. The Brewers go home. Interesting to see. Let's go to the other team that played Monday, the Braves, who had to fly all the way across the country to San Diego. And the Padres, the only home team to win a game so far in the playoffs.
Yep.
They beat the Braves 4-0. Tatis Jr. hit his first home run of the postseason en route to victory. You know, I'm not shocked that the Braves didn't come out and play very well yesterday. You know, they lost Sale to injury Monday before the doubleheader. He had back spasms, which is a big loss. Jason, what do you think his loss and their bad game last night? Do you think that, you know, they're going to come back tonight and put something up, or do you think that the season's over for them?
Nah, I think the Braves are a pretty seasoned veteran team, man. I think they'll even it up tonight. Like you said, the loss of Sale was huge. And the first game, that was like a bullpen game, you know. The pitcher only went like 1 inning, and then the rest of the guys came in for 2 innings apiece. So that's hard to do when your top pitcher goes out.
Yeah, now, Denzel, you said that the Mets were your team that you're worried about. Prior to the Mets, you know, getting a little hot the last few days, everyone was talking about the Padres as the team to worry about. You know, do you still see the Padres as a threat to the Dodgers, or are the Mets a bigger threat?
Oh, whew. Huh. Which one is the smaller team to choke to would be the question. If I was the Dodgers, I definitely would be worried about the both of them. Um, Everyone knows the Pods knocked them out 2 years ago. The Mets definitely have the ability to. Slam Diego is back. Listen, this is a team that lost Juan Soto and didn't miss a beat. Now, coming into the season, the Dodgers were expected to win the NL West. Crazy part is I think the Padres only finished like 3 games back when normally it would have been like 8 or 9 or something, right?
Yeah, they had a
Um,
chance to the the series before the last weekend. Had they won their last game there, they would have been playing for the division the last weekend.
for the division, yep.
They would have still had a chance mathematically. They lost it basically the last game against the Dodgers when they lost that game. I believe it was Thursday or Wednesday.
And correction, they finished actually 5 games back. And as a matter of fact, the Dodgers, let's see, 98 wins, 95. Yankees had 94. So Dodgers had the most wins in the majors. This actually is the first season in quite a while that no team finished with 100 wins.
Listen, just think about the AL Central. 3 teams in the postseason. All 3 teams playing in the divisional round.
Yes.
And they have the team with the worst record ever in baseball history in that division. Thank God it's not the way the schedule used to be where you played your division 19 times.
Yeah.
Because then everyone would be saying that's why it was like that. So we don't have to hear that the schedule's balanced. So, you know, nobody got to beat up on the White Sox. And as odd as it sounds, the White Sox had a great record against the Guardians. I think
Yeah.
they won 6 games against them, which is strange.
And for the last 2 seasons, we said that the AL Central on paper and from past results was the weakest division in baseball. And here they are. They sent 3 teams to the postseason.
And 3 teams to the divisional round, which is even harder, which means that they had
Yeah,
to win both wildcard games. So
exactly.
that's pretty impressive. And they have arguably the hottest team in baseball with the Detroit Tigers.
Tigers, yeah.
All right. So right now, which wildcard team could you see in the league championship series, AL or NL? So start with you, Jason.
In the league championship series, AL or NL. NL, I'm gonna go with Atlanta, man.
Wow.
Ooh.
Well, you're saying they're coming back, or they're going to beat San Diego 2 in a row?
Hey, man. Atlanta's like my second home, man. So I got to root out for the Braves.
Atlanta's like my second home as well, since we're on the radio there, our second radio station. But I don't see it happening. But good choice. What about you, Denzel?
Definitely unexpected. I'll cheat. I'll go both here. AL, Detroit, no question. NL, Mets. You're talking about two teams that don't know when to quit. Now, will they face each other in the World Series? Time will tell. I still think we'll see a division winner in the World Series, probably a 1 or a 2 seed. But no, those would be my two right there. Those are two teams that got hot at the right time. They don't know when to quit. There's nothing scarier than a team that enters the postseason and gets hot at the right time, especially when you win 30 games down the stretch to only 13 losses.
So I am going to tell you right now, the ALCS is going to be the Yankees against Detroit. It's going to go 6 games. The Yankees are going to win, and they're going to go back to the World Series for the first time.
And face the Mets.
No. I want a Yankee-Dodgers World Series.
And face the Mets.
No, I explained this to you. There's no winning when we face the Mets. It doesn't benefit us in any way.
Jason, literally, like last night, it was like, I was like, oh, well, what if you face the Mets in the World Series? He's like, even though we win, it's still a loss. That's basically how he treated it.
Yeah, because we're supposed to beat them. When you're supposed to beat a team, it's not really a celebration when you beat them. But it'll be the Yankees, Dodgers in the World Series, and I think it's going to be great to see. But, I'm a little confused with how Detroit, who had the worst seed, is playing Cleveland. So I don't know if we're going to get the NLCS I want to see, which is Mets-Dodgers, which happened in, I believe it was 1990, way back with Darryl Strawberry and, a bunch of other people. It was a great NLDS. I hope NLCS, I hope we get to see that again. I hope the Mets are going to Philly next, but I don't know. MLB throws me off with their scheduling, how Detroit, the lower seed, is going to play Cleveland. Whatever, it's fine. We'll see Detroit next round because they are on fire, and they got the Cy Young Award winner there. Their pitcher's better than Garrett Cole. That's all I'm going to say. I'll take Skubal tomorrow. Send Garrett Cole to the Japanese League for some sake, and we're good. Any thoughts before we go, guys?
Hey, I mean, if you want to trade him, maybe you can get Trevor Bauer.
Listen, I would take some hot dogs for Garrett Cole. I take Joey Chestnut as the hot dog eating czar of Yankee Stadium for Garrett Cole. I don't like the guy. And Juan Soto is on that list with talking about free agency after he hit the home run last week. You don't do that. You're in a pennant. You're in a pennant chase. We know you're going to be a free agent. I'm happy for you. Make the money. I don't begrudge anywhere from making money, but let's not talk about it in the middle of a pennant race. We all know that your contract's over. I wish you the best. If you don't want to re-sign, I get it. It's business, but let's not talk about it right now. Let's focus. Let's win the damn thing, and go make your money. You deserve it, but don't start talking about it in September because we got things to focus on. When you play for the Yankees, it's win the World Series or it's not a good year. So it's not like, Cleveland where you made the postseason. Yay. No, it doesn't work that way. It's getting that trophy. So, but that's all I got to say. We will see you guys next week. Check out the Picked Off show coming up next. Denzel's on that one. I don't know. I hear his picks are weak, though. I hear Tatum's beating him.
Yeah, all right. Got the score up here in a bit. Divisional round show next week, y'all.
We'll see you guys next week. Have a good one.